except I put the time and the ingredients and how much it's going to cost in my planner.
I've got my budget. Budget. Actually, so here's a fun fact for those who have Kroger's. Kroger's currently has their turkeys on sale for 59 cents a pound. Like go and get it. Like that, they're so much cheaper. Even Aldi had theirs at $1.79. So also this is a total squirrel, and then we will totally get into it. One of my bucket list items is I want to go on the Price is Right, because I would annihilate the competition. And I know I would. So
just as long as you got that game.
What'd you say?
Just as long as you get the right game that you can actually use those skills.
That's true. And I honestly would ask the question, like, are we talking coupons? Are we talking we have a 5 for 5 deal here? But I feel like I would really excel at that game because I'm weird about like memorizing prices in my head. So don't even ask. All right, guys. So 411 and 135, we still have some folks that are kind of trickling in right now, which is normal for realtors. I anticipate at least a 10-minute delay at all times for them. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to kind of start talking about what we're doing here, why we're here. And then I actually have a breakdown of our schedule as well. I have Mr. Bryan Leveritt, who is underneath the name of Pine Cone. He can explain to you why another day.
I gotta change that.
Yeah. I feel like I want a call name now, but I'm also terrified of getting one. So we are going to walk through what exactly this, what a 411 and 135 are, how they're going to be beneficial to you, and kind of the steps with it. That'll be the first half. And then the second half, we'll kind of go into a deep dive of it. All right. Give me a second. So just the schedule. First thing we're going to talk about is 6 personal perspectives. The big, massive, hairy, audacious reason we need to do that is I need all y'all to be in the right mindset as we deep dive into this. Then we're going to talk about what a 135 and 411 is, why they're important, how do you start, and how do you create each of the ones. That'll take about 30 minutes is my goal time to do that. The second part of it is we're going to talk about breakthroughs, breakdowns, and a thinking model. And for those who have already done a 135 411, I want to hear what your thoughts are. Those who have not done one, I want to hear what your thoughts are on it. So we're going to kind of dive in a little bit more. And I have in my notes that I always forget to introduce myself. So for those who do not know me, my name is Liz Henry. I am the creator and founder of Market Center Mentorship. We are an organization that works in tandem with Keller Williams to run their productivity coaching programs. And Mr. Bryan Leveritt, do you want to do your introduction with your big voice?
Sure. Yeah, you bet. Hey guys, I'm Bryan Leveritt. I came from Keller Williams, lived in the company for 6.5 years. I still consult with them, but the main role that I have was a team leader. Most recently, I was a team leader in Keller Williams Chesterfield for Mark King, our president, and worked with him and Gary on some consulting programs, training and facilitating. And it was an absolute blessing to be able to work with them on that level. But my main passion is working with business owners and working with people to help them have the best whole life and business that they can have. So I've opened up a coaching business, and Liz is one of my partners. And so I'm excited to be here today to learn with you all about the importance of a 135 and a 411 as it pertains to leverage in our life and in our business. So I'm excited. Nice to meet y'all.
And fun fact, by the way, guys, we didn't realize this until after we started working together. Bryan only lives like 20 minutes away from where my mom lives in Missouri, which is bananas to me. When I put the 2 and 2 together, I was like, oh, okay, I like it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so talking about 6 personal perspectives. Who's familiar with this? Anybody? No? All right. 6 personal perspectives. Bryan, you want to jump into, I'm going to pull up what they are. And do you want to kind of jump into the importance?
Sure. Or yeah, we'll go to the 6 personal perspectives. Maybe we can have somebody help us read through them. Who can take us through 1 and 2?
If you don't respond, I will start calling on people.
I take 1 and 2.
Okay, what's number 1 say?
Number 1 says commit to the path towards self-mastery in a chosen area.
Yeah. What does that mean to you? What's your name? Who said that?
Antoinette.
Antoinette. Hi. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So what does that mean to you when you read that? Commit to a path towards self-mastery in a chosen area. What does that mean?
I would say you, excuse me, pick or choose what you are comfortable or what you already know, and then add to it to make it even more knowledgeable or to be able to add value to somebody else if they need to know something specific in that area.
Awesome.
Keep-
I love that.
Keep educate, like self-education. CEs is basically self-mastering because you're staying in the know.
I'm gonna push you.
So
guys-
it
Sorry,
says
Bryan.
self too, right? It's all about self. So it's not about mastering necessarily a topic or something. It's all about your ability to either the skill set that you have around whatever it is. So that's awesome. Sorry, Liz, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I love it. This kind of goes towards 1 and 2, but one of the things I want you guys to really push when you think about self-mastery is to understand it's kind of like the person that's trying to do all the jobs and all the things where they only are able to do them kind of partially great. What self-mastery is, the focus is how do you become so amazingly good at the singular thing? What's that one thing for you that you are just going to study, to know, to learn, and to live it? Because for that purpose, it's going to allow you to be that expert for it. And that kind of moves us on to number 2. Stacy, can you mind going over number 2 with us? Oh, you're on mute. I need a sign that says that.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Focus on the 20% that matters most.
Perfect. We've heard of the 80-20 rule. So it's applicable across all the things in all of our lives. And so when we're looking at it, one of the really great things that I'm going to encourage you guys to do when you're pulling down your 135s and 411s, writing down the things that you want to do and the things you don't want to do. That gives us a really good a base of kind of figuring out and focusing on what that one thing is. Is that a good way of putting it, Bryan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, all things don't matter equally. We think they do, but they don't. So the process of even identifying what your top 20% is a really powerful, clarifying moment. So great coaching opportunity there. Who wants to do number 3? That's a hard one.
I'll do it.
Let's do it.
Move from E to P on the 20%.
What does that mean?
She's like, I don't know.
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, so moving for EDP. The E stands for entrepreneurial and the P stands for purposeful. And so we all have an entrepreneurial spirit, and really that's our talent, our natural ceiling of achievement. Maybe you can show up in real estate, and we all have different ceilings of achievement, right? It's just your natural self, which can only take you so far. So when you get to bumping up against any ceiling of growth or any wall in your life, we have to have an E to P moment. We have to become more purposeful to experience what's called a breakthrough. First we break down, then we break through, and you get purposeful with systems, models, and coaching, right? And so when we don't break through with purpose, what happens is we bump our head on the ceiling, we go, ow, that hurt. I don't like that. And we go back down to where we were, and we continue that process over and over. So that's the best way I can explain E to P. It's going from entrepreneurial to purposeful.
And so number 4, and so Meridian, I'm going to call you out on this one because Meridian was at our business planning clinic recently with that we had for one team with it. And I'm going to call it out on him because Meridian shows up and he is there to learn, and he has always had an open mind with it. And I truly, truly appreciate that about him. So Meridian, can you go ahead and do number 4 for us?
I'd be happy to. Make being learning-based the foundation of your action plan.
Oh, that's a good one. Carrie, I see you on here too. And I saw you were there at the business planning too. Being learning-based is huge because if you're closed off in your mind that you know everything, 1, that's your ego. And 2, you're never going to learn anything new. And we know as the world shifts and changes, you have to learn to shift and change with it as well. Just because we're short on time, Bryan, I'm going to go over the last 2 just real quickly.
You bet.
Remove your limiting beliefs and be accountable and live its cycle. These almost can go hand in hand. Removing your limiting beliefs can be a little bit difficult because you're going to have to face things that you either are avoiding because they are in your mind a failure, or you're avoiding because you don't feel like you can do it. And one of the coaching moments on this one that I really, truly want you to ask yourself this question is when you're thinking about your limiting beliefs, ask yourself 2 questions. Is it true? Is a statement in the story I'm making in my head, is that true? Well, yeah, could sort of. I want you to ask yourself this very serious. Is it 100% true? Is what your limiting belief 100% true? Or is it just the narrative that you've created in your mind or the story you created in your mind based off of things that really haven't come to fruition or really aren't true? And then being accountable and Leveritt cycle means consistency. You need to be held accountable. You need to show up. You need to have that consistency with it. That's where the good habits come into play. By being accountable for 1 week, but not the next, isn't accountability. That's just you trying and then giving up. And so we're really encouraging you to constantly be consistent in what you're doing. Good and gravy, guys?
Let's roll.
All right. What is a 135411? If you have been in Keller Williams long enough, you have heard these words, and it sounds like we're speaking a foreign language. Sometimes it feels like we are. 135, the odds are in your favor. With my own play on a joke, like a dad joke. No one? Okay, I tried. So 135, the breakdown of this, you have your 1 year goal. Then you have your 3 priorities to hit that 1 year goal. And then you have your strategies, those 5 strategies per priority, then to accomplish that. Here's the thing. What you need to keep in mind is that even if you accomplish and smash it out of the ballpark 1 priority, that should get you to your goal. Does that make sense? I'm going to say that again. Your priorities should be so big and so amazing that even if you just accomplish 1 out of the 3, that's going to help you hit that 1 year goal. So what essentially it helps you do is it gives you path towards your long-term goal. It gives you guidance of where you need to go. It helps you cut through the noise and focus on what matters to you most. And you assign accountability to your team so you can succeed through others. And when I say team, I'm not just talking about if you're a rainmaker or a team lead, your village, your tribe, those people that are there to help support and love on you and to build you up. They need to be part of this as well. They need to understand what that is to help you get to that goal. And that also allows you to master the ability of thinking and acting in order of priority. Remember what we just talked about earlier, that self-mastery, the focus of the 80-20, really being able to focus on that 20% is. Just like, I know you guys will giggle, I'm telling you, turkey instructions. I have in my calendar, I break down and I time block out, and I also write down what are my top priorities. If I get nothing else done today, what is the one thing I need to accomplish? And you need to go into this with the same mentality with your 135. What is it do I need to accomplish? I think you guys are all speechless because I've just blown your minds with it. We're going to go through a 4-1.
Question.
Go for it. Absolutely.
I have a question. Can you just give an example of like what the, let me look at my notes here. What like one of the 3 priorities would be? Because you said it would have to be so big that it would, if you hit it, it would help you. You would definitely hit your 1 year goal. I have a hard time conceptualizing like what that would look like.
No, that's a fantastic question. I'm so glad because I'm pretty sure other people are thinking to themselves, like, what in God's green earth is this woman talking about? Okay, so let's say your 1 year goal is you want to bring home XYZ amount of money. We know that this is the number. That's typically a very average way of people putting metrics to what their goal is going to be. Or it could be units. I want to sell 100 units this year. So what you do is you look down, what are my 3 priorities that's going to be required for me to accomplish that goal? One of those priorities could be making sure that you have a very clean and clear a database that you're working consistently. What are my 5 strategies for that one? Another priority could be a secondary priority could be making sure that my social media is up to date and I'm garnering more lead generation from that one.
Right.
The 3rd priority could be based off of what you did previously in the previous year and where the majority of your business came from, focusing on that lead gen. All of the things that you're doing need to lead up to that 1 year goal. Some of it could be making sure that I, have higher education and what are my strategies for doing that. The purpose of it essentially is saying, what is it going to take for me to get to that? And when I'm looking at the strength of those priorities, being focused very specifically and very clear about what it is that I'm going to do and how is that going to benefit me to get to my 1 year goal. Remember that move from E to P? We're hitting that natural barrier of our talent. Now we'd add that systems and models to break through that. That's where those priorities come to play, where we're moving from that E to that P and we're being purposeful with it. So our priorities are purposeful. What is the purpose? What am I doing? And those 5 strategies then should fall into play. Now I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into this one. I have a 135 and I only have 1 priority. Mine is literally a 115. The reason for that is that for me, I am so singularly focused on exactly what I want to accomplish for my 1 year goal that for me, I wanted to make sure that I focused on nothing else. And that's how I did it. And I broke down my 5 strategies from that point in time. Sometimes you're not going to have 3 priorities. Sometimes it might be a 1, 2, 5 or 1, 2, 3. There's going to be some variations on it. So don't put something into a place just because you feel like you have to fill in a blank spot. But when you're filling those in, it needs to be, is this working towards my end goal? Is this helping me work towards it? So think in your mind right now, what is that 1-year goal you want to accomplish? And then breaking it down into what is it going to take for me to get there? Did that answer that question? Yes, no, maybe so. All right, cool.
Perfect.
Was that you, Meridian? Perfect. I'm just going to assume when you guys don't respond that I have left you so speechless by my genius that you're just like, what? No one laughed at that either? God, I'm failing today, Bryan. I got nothing. I
laughed. I was on mute.
Look, online is content driven. It's hard to communicate online, right? You're doing a great job, but everyone's muted. They're learning.
I know. It's the same thing with text messages. I really wish there was a sarcasm font. It would make my life a lot easier and less confusing. So let's talk about a 411. We've talked about our 135. So our 135 is what's our big goal for the year? What are my priorities to get to there? What are my strategies? 411 kind of sounds similar, but it's a little different. And let's break that down. So you have your 1-year goal, and then you're going to break down what your goal is for the month. And then you're going to break it down into weeks. And here's the kicker. This isn't a to-do list. This isn't something to where you need to write, well, I need to do this week. And you don't fill out all of your weeks at the same time. This is something that you refresh yourself on every single month. You sit down, I do mine at the end of the month. I sit down, I look at my previous month, I reflect on where am I with my goal markers? Where am I? Have I fallen behind? And if I have, then I need to reset and say what my next month is going to be. Same thing with my weeks. Sunday, I sit down every single Sunday and I go through my entire schedule for the week. I break down my time blocks and I look at what my goals are going to be for the week. And I break down what I need to do, my action items in my schedule to accomplish what that goal is for that week. Does that make sense? Here's the kicker.
Yeah.
Here's the big thing. I want to ask you guys a really tough question. Real tough question. Who can break down their entire week into time blocking? Anybody? So that's going to be the next skill that I'm going to really encourage you. And if you have more, if you want to know more information, reach out to me because it is my absolute love language.
Well, and here's an important note: is that the work you've done on the 135, right? By the way, the work that these tools are asking of you, this is the leverage, right? When you go and you spend the time to do this, a lot of us say, "Gosh, it takes forever for me to be able to build this." Like this is going to save you time later, right? And gain clarity, obviously. But when you have the 135. The strategies that you've listed, those are the activities that are shaping the 411. So it's not, you're not having to create a new tool. You're just going to move that information over to your 411 in a chunked manner, right? And what do I need to achieve in 1 month? What strategy needs to happen in 1 month? Now, how much of that in 1 week, right? Which ends up shaping your day. And so now, Liz, that's the only way that you can know that if I work my calendar today, I know for a fact that it's in alignment with my 1-year goal. That's how we reverse engineered this, right? So that's how you get that confidence that today matters, this activity matters, and if I continue to do this every day, I'll hit my goal.
One of the 6 personal perspectives: consistency, accountability, and keep up with its cycle. So it is easier, and somebody asked me this question last time, it is easier to do your 135 and then work on your 411. Am I right?
Absolutely. The 135 shapes the 411. You're just moving that information over and chunking it down.
Exactly. So how does following a model help my business? Because I get this question all the time. Know what a model is. It's a pattern of something to be made, an example for imitation, serving as or capable of serving as a pattern. Understand success leaves clues, a pattern of what is working and what is not working. Remember when I told you I reflect on what the past month has looked like? I had a meeting earlier today with my mentors, and we were talking about what our stretch goals were going to be for the next year. And what we did is we looked back and took a time of reflection to see what had worked for us in the past year, what had not worked for us in the past year, because that was going to help us determine what we needed to do to shift what our models were going to be in the future, what that pattern was going to be. Following those patterns and clues help create a model that results in the best results. Looking at, if you've been in the business for a little bit of time, you have at least a year underneath your belt or a handful of transactions, look at where your leads are coming from, understanding where your numbers are coming from. That will also give clarity and gain focus on what you need to be doing and what your strategy needs to be for the following year. Success does leave clues. And here's the thing that I really wanted to bring to heart to you guys. You create patterns and models without even realizing it. So this concept really isn't crazy. I have 3 examples here. I'm just going to go through one because I feel it in my soul, because after trying to find my 20-pound turkey, this one's personal to me. You walk into the grocery store and the layout is different and it takes you twice as long to finish your shopping and you're understandably mad. That's patterned action. Same thing with pattern efficiency, pattern schedule. Your dogs are in a pattern schedule. Pattern efficiency. I bet the first time you started a new job and you drove, you were probably music down low, looking to make sure that you have the right thing. By the time you've been there for 6 months, you're throwing on your mascara while doing it one-handed, listening to gangster rap at the same time, prepping yourself for your day. You now know what my morning routine looks like, guys. But you were constantly doing models and patterns without ever realizing it. So you definitely have the capabilities of doing it. Now it's being purposeful about what you're doing, right? Who's having fun where?
Well, the visual I have in my head when I think about a model as it pertains to a 135 is, if I were to document, if I took everyone on the call today and I was to document their 2022, right? I would know what they actually did, right? What their goal was, but I'd know what they actually achieved, their one thing. I would know what they prioritized in their life if I saw where they spent their time and how they did that. And so if you put that on a paper, you're going, okay, that's your life, right? That's what you're modeling right now, right? We don't think about it that way. So we go, okay, if I want something different, then what's the model for that? It's not some big concept. It's activities that look different than what you're currently doing that are proven to get a certain result. And so we're all working a model, right? It's the model that you're working right now or living the one that you want. Is it giving you the desired results?
Exactly. Where do you start is another really popular question I get. We're going to kind of break this down, knowing what your goals are going to be. And this is my encouragement to you. You need to include what your personal goals are going to be, because your business life and your personal life are intermingled. As we work to try to find what that work-life balance is going to be, we have to always make sure that we're taking in the personal factor. A personal goal could be, I want to lose XYZ amount of weight. Personal goal could be, I want to hike 100 miles because I'm insane and don't have enough brain cells to know that humans aren't supposed to do that anymore. That kind of stuff. About Bryan on that one. Knowing your big why and your personal mission as well. Your big why is what keeps you motivated. The missions for your life is to do something you have a passion for, but implementing through with whatever unique gift, skill, or talent you possess. Those are going to be really big. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an example of that for just a moment. And then I'm going to explain to you how that has motivated my 135s and 411s. So for me personally, I have 2 children. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, both boys. And my big why really, really circles around them. And I had to think about what it is that I wanted to do for that big why. And my big why became, I wanted to create a legacy for them. For me, I wanted to create something that they could tangibly and intangibly have. And whether that be that it's through my work ethic, whether it be that they have the understanding that mommy can create anything she puts her mind to or can accomplish anything. What is that legacy that I'm creating for them? And when it came to the tangible things, it was monetary. How do I provide for their future so that they have the ability to explore what their passions are? How do I create that legacy? So for me, it's, how am I being purposeful in accomplishing the big goal of being able to provide them that legacy and what exactly that looks like? And your personal mission is very much the same. When you're trying to make really big decisions, especially in business or personal life, the big question you have to ask yourself is this in alignment with my personal mission? And if it's not, it often helps guide you to what is and is not a good decision. Has anybody had that feeling? What does Dana call it, guys? The knower? Or did Linda McKissick call it? Your knower. In your knower, does it feel good in your knower? Has anybody had that feeling where something just didn't quite feel right? And when you reflect back on it, you realize it wasn't in alignment with your personal mission? And last but not least, this is the most painful one. Know your numbers. Please, for the love of all that is holy, know your numbers. And then also know what that pain threshold is. So I'm going to ask you this question. Close your eyes and think of a number in your head that you want to make next year. Does everyone have that number in their head? Okay. If I were to say, well, what if you made $10,000 less? Would you quit? No? Okay. What about $10,000 less than that? Would you quit then? Continue to run down those numbers by 10 grand more, less and less, until you hit that number where you would say, I'm out. Because that's going to be your pain threshold. In your mind, you say, this is what I want to accomplish, but ultimately I'll settle for this. And what I'm really encouraging you is to push that and to push that and to push that. Does that make sense? Bryan, you have any good insights on that one? Because
Yeah, it's understanding your goals are really it's a standard for what you're willing to accept in your life, right? And so you're going to get in life what your standard is. And so defining it through that exercise you just took us through is really powerful. And then we want to stretch that, because if I have a standard or a goal of $500,000 in income, right? And that's my standard, my final bottom line number. If I set a goal to hit 500,000 and reverse engineer, I have a chance to fail at that, right? Well, there's no chance I can fail. It's not negotiable. So I'm going to adjust my goal activities to maybe 750,000 or 700,000, right? To see what that life looks like. What do those actions look like that would hit that? And then I'll pursue it, right? Whether or not I hit that, Liz, is irrelevant. It's what I'm learning along the way that matters, right? Or what it would take, right? How does this feel? Is this still in alignment with, the way I want to live my life? And that's the whole point of setting the standard goal and then the stretch goal. For me, it's like, if I want to run 100 miles, maybe I'll set a goal to run 200, right? I hit the 100-mile goal along the way. And so it really speaks to that for me.
there will be a day, guys, and I really want Bryan, not today because of time, but there is an awesome story that Bryan has where he was being a pacer, which found this out through him, that when you're running these crazy long races, like 100 miles or 200 miles, which people actually do on purpose, he had an individual that quit at like mile mark, I think 63, right? Or 62. 82. And so Bryan was talking about how his partner, the guy he was pacing, was just really struggling to get through it. And basically Bryan stopped him at 83 and said, you've already surpassed what you did before. And that powerful moment of really understanding that you had already hit the accomplishment of what your pain threshold was. And now you're pushing forward. And he finished the entire race, didn't he?
Yeah. And he did it, 6 hours faster than he would have had he finished the last one. So it was incredible story, but it really speaks to number 3.
Yeah, I love, I get goosebumps every time I think about it. So we're going to talk about the breakdown, the nitty gritties. Oh, deep breath, people. Okay. If you are me, this excites you because I even color coordinated stuff for you. If you are not like me, you're like, great, a skittle rainbow of stuff. But I really wanted to kind of show you exactly what this meant. And Meridian, I think this will kind of help with that, what we were talking about when it came to examples with it. So let's say you want to close 122 units. This is a breaking down of how many listing, how many buyer transactions, and customer care, because those are priorities that this is actually a real example of an agent. I asked them with their permission, if I could use this, and this is their actual breakdown of what they did. And I worked with them through it. And this is what we put together for them. And things I really want to notate on this one is the customer care was also incredibly important for them as well, because they had a true understanding that building relationships was very important. And the other thing about it is when we looked at their numbers and we looked at what every piece of business came from, a very, very large chunk came to repeat business and referrals. And so for them, they understood that needed to be a priority for them, that guided them to understanding what they needed to do for success. Bryan, jump in at this one because you are phenomenal at this part.
Well, to speak to the first question, what do you mean by make the priority big enough, right, that it hits the annual goal? You don't see that right off the bat here, but if you look closely, if you were to close 73 listing transactions, right, as your first priority, we all know that listings are going to be your leverage to everything else, right? So with 73 listing transactions, you should be able to have a 1-to-1 ratio, essentially, of a buyer, right, or another seller you work with if you work the right model. So you got 146 units right there if you just nail priority 1, right, which reinforces priority 2. So this is a good example to speak to. I forget the gentleman's name of the question, but you hit priority 1, you don't have to worry about anything else, right? So that's a good example of what we were talking about earlier.
All right, comments, questions, quibbles, Quidditch, concerns. Then again, Y'all are just speechless at this. I hope this is pushing you guys to really look at what your numbers are right now, or if you haven't put them together, you're going to be making copious notes, right,
We should
Carrie?
do a workshop to follow this up where we do it live. Anyways, let's go.
Oh, I'm writing it down. Hold on. I also have a notebook full of notes. Workshop. Would anybody like us to do a workshop where we actually walk through this?
That would be nice.
And if we have a lot of agents on this call, what we can do is
that would be awesome. Yes, yes, please.
There we go.
Bring in a couple agents. We'll bring in a couple agents that we know that live and breathe this, who have proven businesses from this, and they'll help us lead the workshop so that you can see it's not just Liz and Bryan, hanging out and talking. And we'll bring ours and we'll run a workshop. It'll be fun.
Perfect. You show me yours, I'll show you mine.
That's right.
It's hard to imagine 122 units when you're just starting out.
Yeah. And
I love that. Write that down.
90% conversion rate, like
I
90%
am
conversion rate
optimistic.
as a new agent seems really ambitious.
It can seem seem really high. Part
you
of
know
that.
why? You know why? I have to interrupt. The coaching me's
I
coming
know you're
out.
going to say this.
Because goals are always look ambitious. That's the whole point of a goal, right? The reverse engineering of the strategy and the daily activity it takes to hit that goal is ridiculously underwhelming. It seems so achievable if we just work through the sheet and actually own the activities that we're going to be doing every day. It becomes such an achievable daily goal that you don't have to worry about 122 units. We don't hit goals. By the way, we don't hit goals. What we do is we fall to the level of the habits and systems we have in place. We rarely achieve 122 units by just going for it with ambition. We're going to fall to the habits and systems that we have daily, right? That's why this tool is so money in the bank if you would just spend the time self-coaching, right, to go ahead and do this and perform it. So it looks big because it is.
It is, but you're absolutely right. It's that consistency. Again, we're going back to the 6 personal perspectives. This is a breakdown of a 411. I didn't do specifics on this one because I wanted to make this more generic. I want to advise you, I do 4 different categories. You do not have to. Some people just do business and they do personal, or sometimes they just do business. And there is a difference between a job goals and business goals. Bryan, you explained this really beautifully, gosh almighty, I think last month, that there's a difference between what your job is and what your business goals are. And there is.
That's right. Your job is the actual, your activity set. That's what you're going to do inside your business, right? And then the business goals are what the business overall needs to do and how it needs to perform, which if you have a team, it includes them, it's adding up their activities, but it's how the business will perform, right? In key ways. And then the job is just your job inside that business.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to kind of look at when it comes to annual goals, your monthly goals and weekly goals, I'm going to break it down into personal goal, because this is a little bit sometimes easier because so for my personal goal for my annual, I have a desire to be at XYZ weight, because 2 babies later, Mamacita needs to stop eating bread. But for me to do that, it was so overwhelming in a thought that I had to really break down, what does that look like monthly that I need to accomplish? And then when I looked at what my goals were going to be for each week, it was breaking it down. What is that goal number for an individual week? Because then when I'm time blocking out my calendar, I know that I need to hit these different activities in order to hit that goal. Now let's take a look at what that business goal is going to be. Same concept. What is my annual business goal? What is my monthly goal that I want to be able to hit? And how do I break that down then by my goals per week? So for example, if I know that my monthly goal is to have at least 4 listings, then I need to break down into, I need to go an XYZ amount of listing appointments. I need to go an XYZ amount of listing appointments. And what I said earlier is don't fill out all 4 weeks. Start off with your first week. At the end of the week, review, look at what's happening. Do you need to adjust it? Do you need to catch up on Slack? Maybe it was a down week for you. What does that look like? Because then that is then going to tell you what you're supposed to be doing the remainder of your week, right?
So I've coached around this tool for almost 7 years, and a lot recently in my own business. I would highly encourage you to start with the 4 categories and lead with personal. When you do become ambitious and hit your goals, right? And you just have business goals long term. What I end up getting are clients that are super unfulfilled and don't know what they're doing anything for, and they're run down and they're beat up, and how they got there is not how they wanted to get there. On the flip side of that, my clients who are tied to their personal goals first and then the other ones, they're extremely balanced. They understand that when they take care of themselves personally, spiritual, physical, and relationships, that everything else falls in line, right? So I would definitely encourage you to lead with your personal goals and then counterbalance the other ones in.
Absolutely. Because your personal financial was a big marker for me of what is it that I want to accomplish? Then what is it going to take for me to fund what that accomplishment is going to be?
Well, yeah, you're selling yourself short if you don't. Look, we are what we repeatedly do. Well, you aren't realtors or agents or business owners. You're a person that has a big life that has values in it that you want to live out. You want to consider those, right? And make sure they're showing up on a daily and weekly basis. I promise you, if you lead with your personal goals, the business goals have a much higher chance of being hit.
They really do. Okay, to set weekly goals, because I love instruction manuals, because if you're like me, sometimes abstracts like telling you, hey, go set this goal doesn't really work well with me. So ask yourself these questions. If you could only accomplish one thing this week, is it number one? If you could only accomplish one thing, and should you earn the right to focus on anything else, is it number two? Meaning, have I accomplished number one? I'm sorry, my dog has made a guest appearance because she's being very clingy right now. Puppy life. And what's the one thing you can do to accomplish this? If it's vague, how will we know if you're successful? For the love that is all is holy, make sure that you guys are very clear about what it is, that there isn't a vagueness. Oh, I want to build a big business. Cool. What does that mean? Give me definitions for it. What is one thing to most likely stop you? And what's the solution for that? Anybody have any thoughts on that? All right, this is intermission. You guys have made it. We're like 11 minutes over schedule for the first portion of it, but that's okay. We've got 20 minutes cushion time. So now we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into it. And one of the cool fun facts I want to let you guys in on is when I set out for my 135 last year for 2022, this little thing was on my personal goal. For me, it was on there, and I had wanted a puppy. I was very specific about what I wanted. And I know it sounds silly to put on a personal goal, but there were certain markers that I was required to hit before I gave myself permission for that. But it helped me keep focus on it. And it can be something really small or something business oriented. Okay. Part 2, breakthroughs, breakdowns, and thinking model. Breakthroughs. Who has had a 411 or 135 previously? Anybody? No? What? Oh, okay.
Well, that's why we're here. That's why
I know, but I was hoping I'd have at least one person. That's okay. When we talk about breakthroughs, remember when we talked about this natural achievement ceiling, and then you needed to have those foundational models to kind of break through that? That's a lot of times what we're going to see. Okay, so then you break through, awesome. Then I hit my new achievement, and then I hit another ceiling, and it's going through and improving your models, being able to review and say, okay, what do I need to review and revise? What's working, what's not working, and shifting with it. With the market that we have right now, we're going to have to make a lot of shifts and a lot of changes to what the business and how we're running it and how we're doing it. And are you equipped enough with the models and systems and clarity of what you're supposed to be doing, be able to kind of ride out that wave? Does that make sense? Good and gravy? Again, gotcha silence. Bryan, give me one of your breakthroughs. What was your biggest breakthrough recently?
The biggest breakthrough I had through implementing a 135 and a 411 was, first, I got accountability because I couldn't hold myself accountable, which a lot of people don't like to admit. I'm ambitiously lazy, so I will find my way out of just about anything. And so I hired my integrator, and I got a coach, right? But the breakthrough actually was about perspective number 4, making learning base become the foundation of your action plan, where I realized or internalized that perspective was, we always work to earn, right? And what it's really telling me is I need to work to learn, right? There's a lot of skills that are involved in the plan that you're trying to execute, but the only way to get better at things and to develop confidence, right, and a true feeling of abundance is to learn your way through it. And so we keep wanting the goal. We want the goal. But if I try to learn something based on the activities that I've set to hit the goal, Now I'm focused on it, right? I'm focused on development, getting better. I'm focused on process, which detaches me from the goal. I'm a super ambitious guy. I've always been goal oriented. So I chased a lot of things, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
When I really paid attention to my 411 and said, what can I learn from this? It changed everything for me, right? It taught me how to leverage skill sets, to use it in different businesses, different relationships. And so that was the breakthrough I had with following these tools. Was I learned how to leverage skill sets, right? By being learning based on my action plan. What am I doing that's so impactful, and how can I apply that to something else, right? It's more personal than it is business, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you're going to come to find oftentimes though, your personal goals again are going to motivate your professional goals, because it's going to ultimately come down to you. All right. Who hasn't spoken in a while? Because I'm going to start picking on people. Chris, Mr. Santa Claus, are you available to speak, or are you just having this on the background? Oh, jolly old man isn't there. Okay. Breakdowns. This is the hard one. Who has a hard time with self-reflection? Who doesn't like to face the fact that they failed at something? No, just me? Cool. Why didn't you meet your goals? Okay, so here's a lot of the excuses that I hear from individuals when I ask this question. They didn't feel like they needed them. They think that it's going to limit their freedom. They're just opinions. They won't work for me. Even if they work for you, it won't work for me, or I don't really need to change. I'm perfect the way that I am. Anybody else had these before? No? Yes?
I can say something here, Liz, that you'll probably appreciate. But a couple of years ago, as you recall, I had trouble making the adjustment between being a mentor to the MCM program, because my limiting belief was I was too shy to teach a class. I was too shy to be in front of a group of people. And I found that I missed it. I missed working with mentees so much that was my personal goal that bled into my business goal of eliminating that limiting belief. So I've been working on that consistently all year, joining different groups, speaking in front of people, doing interviews on a personal thing that I'm working on, anything that'll bring me out of my shell so that I can get back to mentoring. And so that's been a limiting belief that I've been trying to rectify. So I'm working on that really hard.
I get goosebumps because I have to say, Karen, I have noticed your social media has just skyrocketed, and I see you everywhere, and you're talking, and you recently did one, I think it was with one of your fitness coach. So you did a whole
35,000 people on that. It was rough, but I tuned it out. I focused on the interview and who I was speaking to, and no one else existed. And that was how I made it through it. But I survived it, and I think I did pretty well with it. So I'm ready to jump back in here, hopefully soon. I'm hoping.
Good. That success like that makes me excited. I love it. And if you guys notice, it wasn't this massive, huge, I'm a millionaire. It was, this is what I need to do. This is my clarity on what I need to accomplish, and going through and systematically getting it. It's a small wins. But the thing about it is that little thing is going to have huge impact on everything else you're doing.
Yeah, it was a big thing for me. It was big for me. And I have you to thank for that, Liz. That was one of the reasons I wanted to come today, just so I can tell you that.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. Don't do that. I haven't cried yet today. Don't do that. But for me, I love it. So guys, it doesn't always have to just be the number part of it. It's what is it that I need to do to make that impact on my life? What is that little change? And is that consistency of habit? I got made fun of because I kept shouting, "How big is your box?" Which I did not realize apparently is not
okay.
safe.
No. Just
Did not realize that. But I did.
Off limits.
Welcome to my it was literally from, by the way, literally from KWRI. I did not write that. So I am not exactly, so this is memorable, people. This is memorable. And Stacey, I know you were laughing at me.
Beg your pardon?
I said, I know you were one of the ones laughing at me, because apparently everyone in the office was joking about it. It's okay.
Well,
you're going to remember this.
You know where I'm from. So, yeah, what can I say?
All right, guys, out of the 13-year-old mentality.
Well, I live with many people with 13-year-old mentalities. So.
Okay. Sorry. All I'm thinking about now is how I kept saying that out loud. Bryan, you were great at kind of explaining this one with more PC version of it. Can you kind of explain what the difference is between thinking really, really big and having bigger outcomes versus small thinking with small outcomes?
Well, here's what I'll say. When we look at the big outcome on the far right, we heard it earlier, that goal just seems unattainable, right? Or that seems really ambitious. And we all say this. Here's the thing. Thinking big is about thinking what's possible. Okay. And a lot of times we want to think about what's probable. But you only know what's probably going to happen based on what you've already done. And so here's the earn it part. When you create a business that's probably going to happen, that nets $1 million, you start to be able to see further into what's possible. But you have to earn the right. So the actions are what build the possibility, right? Once you know how to make $100,000, you can probably do it again because you know what it takes. It's probable, right? Now you're thinking about what's possible and you're thinking bigger. So the more that you reinforce that, right, what's probably going to happen, the further you can see. For me personally, just an example was I never really ran a marathon before. And so just by running 3 miles a day, I ended up doing a 50-mile run, right, that I got signed up for. I never thought that was possible, but I said, hey, let's just give it a shot. And we were able to do it. Well, once I did that, I went, well, maybe 100 miles is possible. Who knows? And so there was actions that I took to do that. And then that goes to 200. Now I'm thinking, what would stop you from running across America? Right? Which sounds crazy, but when you know that certain levels are probable, you can start to see now bigger what's possible. Right? So, but you have to earn the right, and you do it by consistently taking action and turning things to probable first.
So I'm going to open up and I'm going to ask those who haven't spoken yet to speak on this one. But before I do that, if you do that, Bryan, we're going to call it the Forrest Gump campaign.
Sure.
Who has one thing that from in the past year that you have thought to yourself, I cannot believe I accomplished this? One thing. Yisham. I think I already know yours because we talked about this last week, but I'm calling you the rug on this one. What is one thing that you can't believe that you accomplished it? You set out to do it and you did it.
After 10 years later, I made my own money. That was good. My goal was close 3 units. I only did 2, but
still time in the year. That's perfect. Kendra, Justin, Rebecca, what's the one thing you've accomplished this past year that you were just mind blown and mind boggled with the ability to do it?
Mine would be kind of creating a whole other side business with property management that I had no intent of going down.
That is so exciting. By the way, guys, I just have to let you know, Justin's still in college, attending classes, doing this property. I mean, he is just killing it and just doing so much at once. So, which is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Aiden, you're back with us, back at Consultants. What's the one thing you've accomplished this past year that you were just mind blown that you did?
Actually, it's Melinda. For some reason, my son's Zoom account showed up. I'm going, oh yeah, no, I'm not Aiden. He's my son. And he's 17. I guess
sorry.
You're thinking of Ian, Liz. Yeah. Yep. The one thing that I accomplished this year, and I don't honestly know if I'll ever do another one, is I had a commercial residential deal that literally took 8 months to close. It was a constant renegotiation of the terms, and learned a lot. Had to negotiate in money for my client as well to keep the deal alive. But we did end up closing a couple weeks back. And yeah, so I think that was the one big accomplishment that I had this year, that it was also very educational. I took a ton of notes because we did have to bring in a real estate attorney to help me with the language. So that was definitely one.
So
one of a few.
I heard you saying there, I'll probably never do it again. Why do you feel that way? What's the motivation behind saying that?
So I dealt with commercial deals, having worked in legal for Wendy's corporate. So I understand the length of time, but I think it was more of, I wouldn't say I would never do it again. I think I would be a little bit more clear and upfront about the length of the process that it could take. They were very misleading with my clients and myself in the beginning, such as, okay, we're going to be closing here in the next month. You got to find your clients a house. Found them a house within a week. Put even in a 30-day post-close occupancy to protect them. Well, 6 months later, we just closed. So they had double mortgage. My clients were very happy with how I handled it and everything. But I also think that unless you know the commercial side of business, I would suggest bringing somebody in, like maybe Troy or somebody who's worked with, I can't think of the other agent who worked commercial deals, to maybe help guide you or help you with it along the way, especially as a new agent, because there's just so much that goes into commercial that you're not taught in residential real estate. So unless you know the ins and outs of that, it can be very difficult. But you're also dealing with a lot of obviously commercial corporate agents, brokers, attorneys, who will be very pushy, if that makes sense to the group. So I wouldn't say I'd necessarily not do another one, but I would be very careful in the process and making sure that my clients have the knowledge of everything that can happen, because there's always an out.
Yeah. No,
there's always an out. So you have to really word it and language it. I had everything in writing to protect my client. Even on the closing of the deal, everything was in writing. Nothing was verbal. So it was a lot of work on my end. I handled all of the work, even for the buyer side, because the buyer's agent wasn't doing jack to help. So the benefit is my client's attorney did renegotiate the commission split, so I ended up with more. So that was that was an added benefit. So yeah, so you just, it was just such a huge challenge to work with. When it's commercial to commercial, they know what's expected. So yeah.
That's good. Jody, you had jumped on earlier and you were like, yes, let's do a workshop. What's the big thing that you're hoping to get out of that then?
Well, every time I take a class or listen to a Zoom or listen to a podcast, it just totally just remotivates me to achieve my goal even that much more. So I'm getting a lot out of this. And if a workshop even does a bigger deep dive into what we're doing now, I can't help but get excited about it because it just continues to motivate me.
Can I give a strong word of encouragement to everyone else that feels that way? You are on a Zoom right now with other people that are in the same mindset as you. Reach out to somebody and start having that accountability partner. We talk about how accountability and that consistency, peer accountability is huge. Find somebody that you can lean on. Remember how we said that village or that team, that tribe of people? If you're not on a agent, I encourage you, reach out, find that person that can be that for you. Maybe more than one person. All right, guys, we are up on our time. Bryan, you want to take us away with some magical words of wisdom? Because your brain is just so full of good stuff.
That is so funny. Well, first of all, I'm just happy that I wore my vest the right side out this time, unlike the live presentation 2 weeks ago. Number 2, USA plays Wales in about 2 minutes. So if you're a soccer fan or a USA fan, there's that. Here's the thing. 80% of the results that you're experiencing in life are directly related to the environment that you're in. 80% of the results that you're experiencing are directly related to the environment you're in. And by environment, I mean your calendar. I mean where you spend your time. What are the relate to speak to you, Liz? Who's in relationship with you that's in alignment with your goals? What does your training look like? What's the environment that you can fall into that simply by going there, you would by default get 80% of the results that you need in life? I'm a big believer in surround yourself with the people and the things that you need, so much so that you can just fail forward. You don't have to worry about being ambitious or create, because the environment's conducive enough to my success, right? So Liz, I thought what you said was really important. Don't try to succeed alone. No one ever has. And check your environment, audit your environment, right?
Absolutely. That is huge. That is huge, huge, huge. All right, guys, I want to thank you from the bottom of my soul for coming here. I appreciate you guys taking the time out to learn and have that learning-based mindset. We will not have a session like this for next month, just due to the holidays and the way the scheduling is. We will be back at it in the month of January. We'll have dates pending for it. And if you want to, my email address is liz@henry@kw.com. Email me if you want to get a workshop in the book. And if that's going to help you, what does that accountability look like to you? And when you send that to me, tell me what your big goal is going to be. What's that big, hairy, audacious goal? It doesn't need to be numerical. It can be something along the lines of, what is it that you're hoping to gain the most out of learning how to be purposeful with your time and learning how to be purposeful with your business? Sound good and gravy?
I love it.
All right.
Thanks for letting me join y'all.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.